Hello and welcome to the CSS series. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. This is a language of the web. So, before diving too deep into this topic, let's try to answer two fundamental questions related to learning. So, why should we learn CSS? And also, another basic question is what is it in the first place? So, as I mentioned, the CSS is one of the languages of the web. We all know that HTML is the foundational language of the web. So, what does it make CSS then? So, there's a popular saying that if HTML is the foundational language of the web, CSS is its close cousin. So, uh, let's try to understand why this is the case. We know that this piece of HTML is responsible to render this web page in this fashion, right? So what HTML is doing here is it's providing the structure of the web page or the web document. But what if I want my web page to look in a certain way? So that's where the CSS comes in. CSS is a language which gives the emphasis on styling. So the best analogy that we can give is if HTML is the foundation, it's like every house has a foundation and walls within a house. But the coloring that you add to your walls and also the way you improve the aesthetics within your house, um, by adding paints and decor, that's analogous or synonymous to using CSS in the web world. Okay, so let's try to talk about how CSS comes into play and how does it actually work with HTML. In the HTML series, I've briefly spoke about an element called as style. And the style or the rules that we write within this style tag is nothing but CSS. If we want to take certain example, so I can target body and then add a background color of hot pink. And then I can go back and refresh my page and we can see that the color of our web page's background has changed to hot pink. What this means is CSS interacts with HTML elements. In our case, we have targeted the body element and then added a background color to it. So now that we know what CSS does, let's try to talk about different ways in which CSS tries to select these elements and add or enhance the existing styles. So in here, uh, the syntax, the syntax or the rule that we added for this CSS is as follows. So the first one is the selector. The body is a selector, and then it's followed by an opening brace, um, a opening flower brace, whatever you call it, or a curly brace. And the other part to this is called as property, and the right hand, and then it's split by a colon, uh, The right hand part of the column is called as the value. So it'll look like this. So let me create a random text file for time being to explain this. So the syntax is as follows. So there is a selector and then property and then value. So this is how this is the structure or the syntax or the pattern that each and every CSS rule follows. Now, since we have established how to write a CSS rule, let's talk about different ways of writing selectors and how it's going to affect the way in which CSS targets the HTML elements in the next tutorial.